We have heard a lot about the Denver Broncos' early season struggles. And sure, some of it is warranted, but I want to defend the Denver Broncos for just a second. There were some lofty expectations placed on the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson this offseason. Some were even making the Broncos their Super Bowl pick, and actually in March, the Broncos were among the favorites in terms of odds to win the Super Bowl. But why was this the case? Well, the Broncos had one of the top defenses in the league last season. The Broncos defense last year finished third in total points allowed, and that's in a division with Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, and Patrick Mahomes. They have good weapons in Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, and they added a top 5, arguably, quarterback to their roster. Now, does this sound familiar?
Vaguely.
This was the Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Rams formula the last 2 years. You have a really strong nucleus, a really strong base, and let's just add a really high-end quarterback to this roster and see what happens. And it's worked out for the Buccaneers and the Rams.
I would say so, yeah.
The Buccaneers had a good defense, some offensive weapons. They add the greatest of quarterback of all time, win a Super Bowl. Rams had a great defense. Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, they had weapons all over the field in Cooper Kupp. And they plug in Matt Stafford, who is probably a top 5-10 quarterback in the league. Bam, won a Super Bowl. But while there are similarities between those two teams and this year's Broncos, there are some key differences. The Buccaneers and the Rams both had stability at the top, which is not the case in Denver. The Buccaneers had Bruce Arians, who had been their head coach. Their general manager had been their general manager since 2014. The Glazer family owned the Buccaneers since 2014. The Rams also had an established coach with Sean McVay, an established GM with Les Snead, and a really good ownership group that had been there for a long time. If you look at the Broncos, they have a first-year head coach who has never coached at this level in his career, a GM that's in their second year. Oh, and by the way, they're selling the team, so they're going to have new owners.
Rob, I'll hand it off to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's great to see you today, and I'd like to thank Roger Goodell, Commissioner Goodell.
So these three situations are not the same. Stability up top and in ownership and in general managing, that's massively underrated in the NFL. I think that we unfairly put the Broncos in that conversation of the Buccaneers and of the Rams of the last 2 years without really looking at those factors. They have a head coach that has never been a head coach before. The Bucs and the Rams, they had coaches that had coached in NFC championship games before.
A year ago, the Rams shocked the NFL world by trading Jared Goff for Stafford services. Here he is, a win away from the Super Bowl.
Their team was sold this offseason. Their GM is in his second year as the general manager there. The early season struggles for the Broncos is what a team with a new quarterback probably should look like. A lot of hiccups, a lot of speed bumps. And let's not forget that Russell Wilson has been in with his one team, with his one coach for his entire career. He's got to learn the offense. He's got to learn the playbook. He's got to learn the organization. That's difficult to do. Take out the Buccaneers and the Rams. Those two seasons are outliers. You're not going to be able to just plug and play a quarterback and win a Super Bowl. It doesn't happen in this league. But when it does, there's a lot of continuity on the team before that quarterback comes into play. Same head coach, same general manager, same ownership group. When we take a look at the Broncos this season, we at least got to take that into consideration. Not to mention, the Broncos are probably in the best division in football. I know it's been a little bit of a struggle for the AFC West to start out the season, but that division's loaded. If you take a look at what Brady and the Buccaneers were going up against, wasn't that good. And to be honest with you, outside of the 49ers, the Cardinals always implode.
Right, here comes the implosion.
And the Seahawks were the Seahawks last year. So when we look at the Broncos, I think we need to take a step back and look at all of these factors that are going into it, because there's a lot more to it than just plugging in a quarterback and letting him cook.